Well, we will continue on in our supernatural series. Today we are going to be talking about angel jobs. And I know that sounds kind of like a very basic title, but we're talking about some of the roles that angels play and uh, how we see them playing different roles in the Bible and that we commonly talk about. And what does the Bible actually say about them? So, we're going to start off with a common one, guardian angels. So, people often speak of guardian angels, but do they actually exist? Well, unfortunately, the Bible is very fuzzy about the topic of guardian angels. There's some that we can determine, there's some that's left kind of questionable, and there's some that's just not communicated at all. But it seems like you can make a case that angels do protect us. However, it's a lot harder to make a case that each person has their own angel. So, one verse is brought up most often when you're discussing guardian angels, and that verse is Matthew 18:10. It says, "See that you do not despise one of these little ones, for I tell you that the angels in heaven always see the face, that their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father in heaven." So the problem with using this for proof of guardian angels is that it's specifically referring to children. Now, that verse would be different if it was referring to believers or people in general, but it's directly regarding kids and talks about the children and their angels. And so it means that with this verse, you can make a pretty sound case that children have angels that stand in the presence of God and plead their case. But you can't necessarily say that those angels follow kids around. They keep them safe, keeping them safe in a way that we picture guardian angels. Instead, the verse just kind of says that they're continuously in God's presence. So, one verse that contributes to the idea that angels protect us is also found in Psalm 91. Psalm 91, 11 through 12 says, "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Now, this passage is filled with God's promises to protect believers from danger if you read Psalm 91 in general. And as part of it, we do see a promise that angels will guard us to the point of not striking our feet against stones. Now, what's the problem with this one? Well, anybody here ever stubbed their toe before? I mean, yes, I know that I have stubbed my toe plenty of times, and I'm sure that every person watching this has as well. And so, if angels literally stopped us from stubbing our toes against stones, then no hands should have gone up. And so, the Psalms are poetry, and it's important to remember that. And some Psalms do use flowery and poetic language to describe things. Now, whether the nuances are true or not, the verse does provide evidence that God's angels are at least protecting us, whether they are keeping us from stubbing our toes or just serving a more overarching protection role. That's kind of unclear from the verse. But then you have a strange story where Peter is released from prison by an angel. Acts 12, 5 through 16 says, "So Peter was kept in prison, but the church was earnestly praying to God for him. The night before Herod was to bring him to trial, Peter was sleeping between two soldiers, bound with two chains, and sentries stood guard at the entrance. Suddenly an angel of the Lord appeared, and a light shone in the cell. He struck Peter on the side and woke him up. 'Quick, get up,' he said, and the chains fell off Peter's wrists. Then the angel said to him, 'Put on your clothes and sandals,' and Peter did so. 'Wrap your cloak around and follow me,' the angel told him. Peter followed him out of the prison, but he had no idea what the angel was doing was really happening. He thought he was seeing a vision. They passed the first and second guards and came to an iron gate leading to the city. It opened for them by itself, and they went through it. When they had walked in the length of one street, suddenly an angel left him. Then Peter came to himself and said, 'Now I know without a doubt that the Lord has sent his angel and rescued me from Herod's clutches and from everything the Jewish people were hoping would happen.'" When this had dawned on him, he went to the house of Mary, the mother of John, also called Mark, where many people had gathered and were praying. Peter knocked at the outer entrance, and the servant named Rhoda came to answer the door. When she recognized Peter's voice, she was overjoyed, and she ran back without opening and exclaimed, "Peter's at the door." "You're out of your mind," they told her. When she kept insisting that it was so, they said, "It must be his angel." But Peter kept on knocking, and when they had opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. So in this story, not only is Peter actually rescued by an angel, but the people in the house, like they say, "Oh no, it's just his angel." What is going on here? This is a weird verse. Well, in Jewish tradition, the Jews believed that every person had a particular guardian angel, and that guardian angel frequently would assume their shape and their voice, like it would personify itself as that person. Now, this is just a Jewish tradition. It's not scripture. The ironic thing is that Peter was just rescued by an angel. And so the fact is, though, that the believer saying this is his angel is not necessarily evidence that guardian angels are true. However, it is interesting to note that there are angels that rescue people in Scripture. I will say this seems to be one of those instances where there's an angel specially tasked. There's nothing really to indicate it's like Peter's special angel kind of thing. But it's an interesting story. It's more of a response to prayer than it is a specific guardian angel. Now, finally, there is an indication that regions have angels that are assigned to them. We looked at this last week. Daniel 10:13 and 21b says, "The prince of the Persian kingdom resisted me 21 days. Then Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me because I was detained there with the king of Persia. No one supports me against them except Michael, your prince." And so we see that in this instance, there's both good and evil spiritual beings that are placed over regions here. And Michael, the archangel, is listed as your prince, indicating he is the prince over Israel. So, what can we actually conclude about guardian angels? Well, here's what we can conclude. Angels, as a general rule, tend to take on a protective and a nurturing role to humans. Looking at Hebrews 1:14, "Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation?" Next, children most likely have angels dedicated to watching out for them in the presence of God. Whether those angels are specifically overseeing and like guarding them every step of the way, that's a little fuzzier. Regions seem to also have angels that are overseeing and fighting for them. Whether that's how detailed that goes, I don't know. But it does indicate that Israel, his prince, is Michael. We do not have any evidence that individual people each of them have a guardian angel following them around day and night. That in and of itself, just on a biblical level, we cannot prove. There's no information regarding that one. So, that may have left things fuzzy for you, but this is what we can know about guardian angels, but just based on scripture alone. And in the end, there's going to be a lot of stuff that circulates around that is not based in scripture. And so what I want to remind you is that even if the answer is fuzzy, if we're not sure, we can know the angels take on a protecting role. And we can know that there are definitely instances that fit the mold of guardian angel or something like that. But we always need to go off of what scripture says, not tradition or strange videos on the internet or whatever it is that we find. Next role or job we have are the angels of death. The angel of death is a role of angels that they serve a couple different times. Bible has multiple instances where angels are not sent to protect, they are sent to destroy. And this is a little bit intense, but you have Sodom and Gomorrah. Genesis 19, 1 through 17. Then the two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning. No, they answered, we will spend the night in the square. But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him, and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the city. They called to Lot, where are the young men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them. Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, no, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have two daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do what you like with them. But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof. Get out of our way, they replied. This fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them. They kept bringing pressure on Lot, moving forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so they could not find the door. With the coming of the dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, hurry, take your wife and your daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hands and the hands of his wife and of his two daughters, and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, flee for your lives, don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away. So we have these angels who are sent to destroy Sodom. Then you've got Passover, which refers to the destroyer. Exodus 12:23, when the Lord goes to the land to strike down the Egyptians, he will see the blood on the top and sides of the doorframe, and he will pass over the doorway. And you will not permit the destroyer to enter your houses and strike you down. Now, Psalms elaborates on the story and actually indicates that it was a group of destroying angels. Psalm 78:49, he unleashed against them his hot anger, his wrath, indignation, and hostility, a band of destroying angels. He prepared a path for his anger. He did not spare them from death, but he gave them over to the plague. He struck down all the firstborn of Egypt, the first fruits of manhood, and the tenths of Ham. And 2 Samuel, David disobeys God and takes a census. In response, the Bible tells us God sent a destroying angel throughout Israel. So the Lord sent a plague on Israel from the morning until the end of the time designated, and 70,000 of the people from Dan to Beersheba died. When the angel stretched out his hand to destroy Jerusalem, the Lord relented concerning the disaster and said to the angel who was afflicting the people, enough, withdraw your hand. The angel of the Lord was then at the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. When David saw the angel who was striking down the people, he said to the Lord, I have sinned. I, the shepherd, have done wrong. These are but sheep. What have they done? Let your hand fall on me and my family. Then we see God sends an angel in Acts to kill Herod. Acts 12:21 through 23. On the appointed day, Herod, wearing his royal robe, sat on his throne and delivered the public address to the people. They shouted, this is the voice of God, not of man. Immediately, because Herod did not give praise to God, an angel of the Lord struck him down, and he was eaten by worms and died. Now, there are quite a few more passages in Scripture of angels that are being used to bring judgment on humans. For example, the book of Revelation is filled with these stories. You have the angels pouring out judgment on the earth. But in this instance, this is a couple of other, this is another big role that we see angels taking in Scripture. Now, is this an evil role? Does this mean angels are evil? No. This means that they are bringing judgment in these situations. You see that every time they are bringing judgment on the sinful. And so they are being used to bring justice about from God. So, a little shorter of a lesson this time. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you.